And as we start coming into 2025, I think the game has evolved drastically, right? Like there's so many vendors, so many different solutions out there,
Yeah.
right? So many different apps, products, so many different techniques. It used to be, I think, simpler. I think it used to be more, I would say more basic. It used to be more basic.
It has, but it's gone through cycles. There's been times where we had an explosion of vendors, and then a whole bunch of M&A happens, and we get down to like the big three. Like in the early 2000s, it was pretty much IBM, CA, and HP were the three big software development tool vendors, and everybody else were just so small compared to those three. And I think I credit Atlassian for knocking all three of those down. But it was also the economy at the time. And then we went into a time where there was just, dozens and dozens of software vendors to choose from, and almost an unlimited combination. And in certain ways, we're kind of going back to, we're not there yet, but we're kind of going back towards the, kind of having a big three. And, right now that looks like GitHub, GitLab, and Atlassian.
Yeah, no, definitely. And
There's
and I,
other big mentions in there as well, but those are kind of the big three.
yeah, and I still remember the very first time I heard of GitHub. I was in college. This would have been around 2011. Yeah, right around 2011, either late 2010 or early 2011. There was a guy that came over, and he's like, "I'm gonna show you guys this thing," because prior to GitHub, we used to email each other our code, and we had version 1, version.
Dangerous way to start a conversation. Sometimes I want to show you this thing.
I'll show you this thing. He was like, "I'm gonna revolutionize your world," and we used to we used to email code, right? We'd have version 1, version 1.1, version 1.2, version 1.2 final, version this is really gonna work now final. And we didn't have any good version control. And I think this is a part that we kind of missed of DevOps too, right? Which was Git and GitHub and all that stuff. Subversion, it used to be an adult thing, I would call it, right? It was something that you did in the company, in your enterprise, but Git really came in, really disrupted stuff.
Yeah, it did.
And I think once Git came in, right, before Git, we had what? Subversion, Mercurial.
Yeah, Mercurial was a short-lived little thing. It's still out there in the wild, but hardly ever seen. More like, like a Sasquatch or something. But no, there's an army of tools that came before Git, and Git just overwhelmingly replaced them. But it's funny you mentioned GitHub in college, and I'm pretty sure that's where most people ran in to GitHub that are 40 or under. But one of the tools that, in fact, we've been talking for a while, and I haven't mentioned ClearCase yet.
I was hoping we'd go the whole episode, but here we are.
So sorry, we're gonna talk ClearCase a little bit. The two main reasons ClearCase became like the dominant tool in the 90s, and continued throughout the early 2000s, what was because it adopted a college go to market, where they basically just cities, and so it was free for them. It was a pain in the ass to set up, but at that time, that you're giving it to people that want to play with things, and so they were figuring it out. They're figuring out Unix back then because it was pre-Linux, and it lasted for a long time. But before that, we had SCCS and RCS. Those were like the two main initial version control systems. And RCS is still out there. SCCS really isn't. It lasted for a while because it was part of the most Unix distributions, or
Microsoft at the time. Microsoft had their own too, right? Visual SourceSafe or something like that.
Yeah, they came out a little bit later. But Visual SourceSafe was a derivative of RCS, I believe. Um,
Which then eventually became TFS kind of had their own thing and then eventually became Git.
mhm.